I watched Volume 88 in the Master of Cinema series, the classic Australian thriller, drama, I don't know what we call it. It's called Wake In Fright.
Nick Cave's favourite film, apparently.
Ah, yes, he described it as one of the most true and sickening portrayals of Australia ever.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I saw it when it was on Mubi.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it, about a year ago. I can remember it quite vividly. It's a great film.
Yes. Well, I would highly recommend this version.
Yes.
The Master of Cinema Blu-ray version. Continued to be the best supplier of movies in the world.
Yes.
Outclassing Criterion, in my opinion.
So, what is the plot of classic Australian thriller Wake In Fright?
Wake In Fright is about a school teacher called John. Basically, he hates his job, despises it. And what they do is in Australia, because the outback's a difficult area to obviously live in and teach in.
I think an important thing to mention is the fact he's English.
Yes, he is.
That plays into the film a lot.
Yeah. So he's an outsider to Australian culture. And to live and work out in the outback, I think the teachers pay like a deposit of $1,000, something like that. So they'll say stay in the outback for your term, for your contract, and then we'll give you back your $1,000. He almost describes it as being like slavery, or something like that. So it's the Christmas holidays, and he works in a tiny little village, not even a village, like a series of shacks in the middle of the outback. And he decides to go home for Christmas, go home to Sydney. Also go to Sydney and then presumably get a flight back to England. I think he's going to see his girlfriend.
Yep.
So along the way he stops off overnight in a town called Tambuka.
Can't remember the town.
No, it's not Tambuka is where it comes from. It's another Australian town.
Yes.
And it's very locally.
Yes.
And he stops overnight and he's a bit awkward and doesn't really fit in. He stands out like a sore thumb compared to all these kind of burly Australian men.
Yep.
So a sheriff shows him around town, buys him loads of drinks. Everyone drinks all the time in the film. Everyone's drinking beer.
Yep. Then he plays a ludicrous game.
Yes, heads and tails game, which it's simple. He's like, it's simple enough. He's like, yeah, have you got the idea of the game yet? And he's like, oh yeah, so it's simple, isn't it? So he makes a lot of money, and he sees this as like his opportunity to earn enough money to get out of teaching and move back to England.
Yes.
He fucks up royally. He loses all of his money.
Yep.
All he's got is $1 left to his name, which is the deposit from his hotel room. This forces him out of his hotel room, and he's essentially homeless.
Yes.
So he goes around sponging off of various people, and essentially they're all like little mini vignettes about Australian culture.
Yes.
He goes and lives with I'm trying to think of what they are now. He goes to like this kind of weird old man's house who helps him out, lets him live there. Turns out he's friends with like these burly misogynist arseholes.
Yes.
Who love hunting and drinking beer and just
raping women.
Yeah, raping women and they're just arseholes. And then he ends up living with Donald Pleasance.
Yes.
A.K.A. Blofeld in You Only Live Twice.
A.K.A. Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis in Halloween, yeah. In this film he plays a alcoholic doctor.
He's amazing in this film.
He is great, yeah. Essentially the film is about John's turn into becoming what's the word, like culturalised, naturalised.
A tallywhacker.
Yeah. I don't know. Acclimatised. It's about becoming acclimatised to the culture of Australia, and eventually he's becoming into one of these kind of burly, kind of like beer drinking and murdering and generally being an arsehole.
And it's generally a hellish experience for him.
It is, yeah.
And it's very awkward for the audience to watch.
Yes, I watched this Sunday morning watching.
Oh no.
I was looking through my DVDs. Oh, what can I watch now? Oh, that Wake In Fright sounds good. No,
that's horrifying. The film that struck me most was the bit where he kills the kangaroo.
Oh, that's horrible. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's horrible. That goes on forever.
Do you know that was banned over here because it's real?
Yeah, it's real, isn't it? Yeah. They were filming like I think it says at the end of this remaster that they were like actually licensed. They filmed it, but they were like officially licensed hunters on a hunting trip. So that's how they got to pass it past the BBFC uncut.
Yeah.
Because it was actually licensed. But obviously, like, England's a nation of animal lovers. So I'm actually quite surprised Wake In Fright managed to come out over here uncut.
Yeah.
You know, you can release those things now, but anything with, like, animal violence is a bit...
Yes.
Shunned. So Wake In Fright was excellent. It's a nightmarish experience.
Yeah.
It sticks with you.
Yeah.
What strikes me about it is the visuals of the film. I do not know this filmmaker at all, but Ted Kotcheff.
He directed the first Rambo film.
Oh, did he?
He directed First Blood.
Oh, so this is the best one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was before Sylvester Stallone got his hands on the
on
the franchise, and
back when it was actually about something.
Yes.
Yes. So he does a really good job of putting you into a nightmarish experience, almost like there's a cultural theory called the carnivalesque.
Yeah.
Where everything's slightly off kilter, nothing really makes any sense. It's all about like a character entering a world where people don't act in ways that they shouldn't do. That's not expected, but it's socially acceptable to be that way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like obviously it's completely socially unacceptable to go around murdering endangered species and raping women.
Yeah.
But in this world that he paints me, paint it as being an okay thing to do in this community.
Yeah.
And this poor chap is stuck like in the middle of it, and he almost kind of he almost falls into this world. He almost gets succumbed to it. There's an amazing. The best sequence in the film is where he goes out hunting, killing the kangaroos, and just drinking all the time and just throwing shit around, and so it's all about his character's like descent into depravity.
Yes.
And him desperately trying to find a way to eventually to get out.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know who the main actor is.
No, me neither.
I've never seen him in anything else, but he was very good.
He was.
He is a very good actor. He gave a lot of weight and gravitas, and you can see what he's kind of going through.
Yep.
And it made me not want to go to Australia.
Maybe he never want to drink again. It looks hellish, doesn't it?
Everyone just drinking's. It seems like the only thing people do with the outback is just drink.
Yes.
Just drink beer.
It portrays them as doing no but drinking beer and being miserable.
Yeah, like every single scene is just him just drinking beer.
The cinematography in this is amazing as well.
It
looks genuinely like hot and unpleasant and sticky.
Yeah, it's sticky, and you can almost smell the sweat and the blood, and you can like the stale beer, and it leaps off the screen. And it's like I say, it doesn't paint the nicest picture of Australia.
No, it does not.
Again, because it plays upon Australian iconography.
Yes.
The murder of the kangaroos. You've kind of got like, I call them Crocodile Dundee characters.
Yeah.
Which like the kind of the boys, I kind of live up to that kind of kind of like Foster's drinking, almost like a borderline Australian stereotype. It plays around with Australian stereotypes and stereotypical images. It greatly undermines them. So like like the outback, you see it's been this huge, beautiful place, but then it shows the reality that living out there is
horrible.
It's horrible. Yeah,
Yes.
You don't have many opportunities there. It's not a place many people would really want to go live in.
No.
And then the reality of the Crocodile Dundee stereotype is that if people actually are like this, then they're just
assholes,
murderous, drunken assholes.
Yeah.
And the other thing they do is just eat, sleep, fuck, then sleep, then drink.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of options in the world of Wake In Fright. It's often talked about in the same breath as like Deliverance and Straw Dogs and Last House on the Left, and films that really pushed the envelope in 1970s cinema. And Wake In Fright was actually hugely popular when it came out.
Well, it's not actually that violent though.
Not really. It's more disturbing.
Yes.
It's more about the humiliation of the characters or the character. It's a pretty disturbing film, really.
Yeah.
But like it was hugely popular. Like I was reading, like it was popular in like the UK and Australia. Pretty good critical review straight away. But then it kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It was for years called like the Great Lost Australian Film. One of one of the best films of Australia and just disappeared. And it's kind of been rediscovered in the last 5 or 6 years. It's been given a huge reappraisal. It's had a great remaster. Just brought the film back to life. But have you seen Straw Dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean the James Marsden 2011?
Oh yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a sci-fi great sequence in Straw Dogs where it's after.
He walks in the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the scene in the town hall after she's been raped.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of like laughing and joking like it's all normal, but there's like this deeply sickly underlying sense of unease. The whole of Wake In Fright is like that.
It is.
The whole thing, it's quite a challenge.
Well, it's almost the ultimate fear, isn't it? Being a stranger in a strange land where everyone could kill you.
Yeah.
Being completely alone with no money and no resources. And
yeah, it's genuinely a terrifying prospect.
Exactly.
The character hits his low point when he's living with Donald Pleasance, and like Donald Pleasance, like his character. He was a man of promise.
Yeah.
A learned man, a doctor, and he fell upon hard times. He got stuck into this world of depravity and drinking. It's like one of his first lines of dialogue is I'm a doctor, but I'm also an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he's stealing food off of people and But there's a great. I love films where it make you feel uncomfortable.
What I like in ours is the fact that the main character is fairly unlikable.
He is, yeah, he's a bit of an arsehole.
But because you can empathise with that situation, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyone can feel the horror of being in a strange land.
Yeah, and like when your opportunity to get out arises, you would probably have a go and kind of take it. And
the game is so simple.
Yeah.
And so just ridiculous. It becomes, in a way, so realistic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He sees his opportunity and he tries to go for it.
Yes.
And then so I'm a big fan of films that make me feel really uncomfortable. It takes a certain skill, I think, in a filmmaker to do that.
Yes.
Like to have images which, they're just images at the end of the day, but we have like another layer of like I said, that sequence in Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
Where it's the scene is. The characters are in a town hall watching a pantomime.
Yeah.
And that's the scene. But then the filmmaker imbues it with a sense of unease which completely changes the meaning.
Yeah.
So in Wake In Fright, the characters are all drinking beer in a pub, but there's that sense of unease where the character feels out of place. And so really it all culminates, like I said, in the kangaroo hunting scene, which is the character is his absolute lowest point.
Doesn't he actually box one to death?
That's one of the other guys.
Oh, right.
Yeah, one of the Australian guys.
Does he kill one of the kangaroos himself?
Yes, he does. Yeah, he chases after one of them and he's like holding onto its tail and stuff, and it's really hard to watch.
Yeah, it is.
Considering how he must have filmed that. But as a film, I think it's great. Really weird, uneasy atmosphere. As a thematic journey, it's a really interesting indictment of life in secluded areas.
Yeah.
There's it's almost like a lot of horror films. A lot of horror is based around the character from the city going to the countryside and then encountering the horrors of
the countryside.
The countryside or the outside world. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the classic example.
Yeah.
Where college kids of the city go into Texas, rural Texas, and they get murdered.
Yeah.
Same thing for Wake In Fright. This is a learned metropolitan man living in an area which he doesn't know. It's a fear of the unknown and all the horrors which come from it.
Yep.
I would highly recommend the film.
I think it's a 9 out of 10.
It's 9 out of 10. Yeah. It's
a classic.
It's a classic. Yeah. It's probably the best Australian film I've seen, but from what I've seen of Australian cinema, they're not terribly.
They had the massive 70s Renaissance when they had their picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yeah.
That's meant to be the greatest Australian film ever made.
Mm. See, out of the Australian films I've seen two. I've seen this. I've probably seen others, but I just don't know as Australian. But another one called The Snowtown Murders.
Never heard of that.
That is the bleakest film I've ever seen.
Really?
Yes. It's about kind of like a family with like a disturbed. The main character's like this disturbed teenager, and and they live in like the worst council estate in Australia, which is it's based on an actual story.
Yeah.
And it's filled with paedophiles.
Oh yeah.
So him and his brothers, they all have like paedophilic pictures taken of them, and then this community tries to make a vigilante group to murder the paedophiles and kill them.
Yeah.
But eventually, it just becomes like an outlet for aggression against everybody,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the original mission statement. And this kind of leader kind of worms his way into this kind of family unit and starts to corrupt them from the inside. But spoilers, by the way, spoilers. It culminates with like a brother having to murder his younger brother.
Yeah.
It's an excellent film. I would highly recommend it, but don't do it while if you're a bit sad or a little bit depressed. Don't watch the film.
But if you're happy, it'll ruin your mood anyway.
Well, yeah, so it's going to ruin no matter what.
Yeah.
We watched it in film studies when we did international horror back in uni, and the film studies tutor said, if you can get through this film, you can get through any other horror film.
Yeah.
Because it is that bleak. But the horror films of Australia don't paint a very
good picture.
Very good picture, yeah. So Wake In Fright, I would highly recommend it. It's a great film. It's a lost classic, now rediscovered. Praised by Mr. Nick Cave.
Yes.
You know, what better endorsement could you have?
Exactly.
Than a recommendation from the great man himself.
Yep.
And if you want an unexpected take on Australian culture, or even if you're just for cinematography,
yep,
it's quite an experience. If you want strange, bizarre performances, it's all in here, especially Donald Pleasance.
Yep.
And if you want to see a man box a kangaroo, it's got that scene in there as well.
Yes.
So Wake In Fright, a highly recommended film. Great film.